So Matt, if you got your your lathe fired up and you're ready to go, I'm gonna one of the co-hosts are gonna mute everybody, and then you'll pop back in. And folks, we do that so that we don't get any background sounds because if Jeopardy's on in the background, it'll come over and mess up Matt. we don't we don't want to distract him, folks. He's got some problems keeping going. So we don't want to sidetrack him. I mean,
Right.
so we're gonna mute everybody, then
Right.
bring Matt back up, and then we're rocking and rolling because it's worldwidewoodturners.org. Go ahead, Matt.
All right, Matt, I'm going to mute everybody.
All right, I'm unmuted.
We got you.
All right, thanks, y'all. First of all, how's my audio?
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Audio is great.
Okay, so this is I will switch over to the document here so y'all can see it. Natural edge offset bowl. There's my contact information. This came from a piece that I did and showed last week, which was done in the same way that I'm going to show tonight. Let me switch to a different camera here and show this piece here. So the piece of wood and the one I'm going to use tonight, what did I do with it? Here it is. These are from the same piece of wood. So you can see it's not a round piece of wood, okay? So those are my favorite because you get some really interesting stuff out of it. And what my process will show is it'll show you a way, and this is, it's pretty simple. It's just basic bowl turning with a little twist or two. You're going to end up with one side that's longer and higher, one side that's shorter. Now, because of how I position things, I have one side here that came awful low, a lot lower. So I'm going to show you ways to address that also. And this piece here I did this afternoon, same piece of wood. There's no sanding on this, it's just tool. It's a little bit different and a little bit better, but you can see that I got the sides on this side a little more even, okay? Let's see if I can show that. And I did that by a little bit of a change in how I did the centers. So all the magic happens really at the very, very beginning. And I lost most of the bark, so this is scorched with a torch, mostly. And I lost pretty much all the bark. C'est la vie. So this is a piece of wood I'm going to use tonight. And like if you were going to try to center this, and I would center it like on the pith, like here. But what I want to do, and the thing that gives me the higher sides is I shift it one way or the other. Okay, and you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So, and because I've got one side that's a little thicker than the other side, I want to shift it towards the thicker side too. So what I'm going to do, and this is, you know what? Let me do it on this side. I like this better. So there's my center, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift it. I'm going to pick this side. So I'm going to shift it away from that side. No, I'm going to shift it. Yeah, I got myself. Yeah, I want this high. So I'm going to shift it towards that side. I'm sorry. So there's my center. I'm going to shift it about a ½ inch or so. And I'm going to shift it. This part looks thicker, so I'm going to shift it on this side. So that's where I'm going to put my center. So I'm shifting it towards the thicker side and towards the part I want higher. Okay? Questions on that so far?
Who's on first?
Ow.
That hit your foot?
Yeah. That's okay.
You got some tennis shoes on instead of clogs.
Right. Yeah, and these got some substantial support. So so all this, the center shifting is being done on the headstock. So I'm going to find my center there, and then I'm going to center it here, basically in the center on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my tenon on this side, and that shift that's happened at the headstock will happen will stay that way, shifted the whole time. And it doesn't have to be a bowl. It can be a vase. It can be anything. But what you're working on is you're going to get the tenon. So the tenon is offset. Well, the tenon is where you want it to be, but the piece is offset on this side of it, if that makes sense. Questions?
I got you now. Yeah.
All right. So first thing I'm going to do is make a tenon. Now, you don't have to put a pedestal on here like this piece has got. Okay.
Well, yeah.
You could just take it off at the bottom, no problem. All my documentation has got a pedestal on it, but all I'm doing right now is putting in a tenon. Yeah, not like that. I'm not. Man, I don't know if it's the weather. Nothing is staying where it's supposed to stay.
No, it's because you're demoing.
Yeah. This thing worked so flawlessly this afternoon. I had a friend of mine ask me, he said, "You ready?" I'm like, "Oh man, I'm so ready." Nope. And I'm using my little guide here. I got a little guide here at the end here. The inside ring is tenon size, and I'm just using it. I'm eyeballing it. Then I'm going to square it up for the dovetail. Make sure this side the shoulder is flat that fits on the top of the jaws, and this side is flat. And then we're going to switch it to the chuck. Questions, concerns, confusions?
Concern.
You really didn't show us the rings you had on the other end. I understand what they're for, but some people might not.
Repeat that.
The rings you got on the tailstock end to size your tenon.
Oh,
You didn't really explain it, but you need to. Yeah.
this is just a simple little tool. The inside ring is my minimum tenon size. The outside ring is my minimum recess size. If the outside ring fits in a cavity I've made, the recess is big enough. If it's bigger than this inside ring, it'll fit on the tenon. And the big hole is so it fits on my quill, on my tailstock quill, which is where I store it all the time. This is the second one because it's one point. The first one ended up in the shavings. I lost it. So
Thanks, Matt.
yep. I know I've shown it in a lot of my demos. So it's okay.
Paint it orange.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so let me switch to this document here. So this is the basic shape I'm going to go for. I'm not going to do the pedestal at the bottom. I'm just going to do a simple bowl, but that's where we'll start. And this is a cutaway view of that. Basically, the interior of the bowl follows the exterior of the bowl. The notes here are that the rim edges will be altered by offsetting the centers, and the pedestal is not necessary. Okay. So, and what we've just done is we've just made the tenon. So you offset the headstock and then make the tenon. And my note says that all the offsetting is done at the point in time where the tenon is turned. So, and it drives the rest of the asymmetry on the piece. So, this is my final slide in this presentation. And basically, what you're going to be doing is you're going to cut the outside of the bowl first with shearing cuts. You start the cut off in the air, and you line it up. And your goal is to get as much of the bark included in the piece as you can get. And then I'm not going to put CA glue on tonight, but if I was going to apply CA glue, I'd apply it before I started the interior of the piece. All right, any questions on this so far?
Matt, I gotta ask, you offset towards the side you wanted the longest. That's the wrong way, isn't it?
I'm a little foggy, Bob. Maybe. I
Okay.
offsetted it. The offset is actually, oh, it slipped. So it's not even where I wanted it to be. No, I offset it towards where the side I wanted the highest. So the side that you offset it to is going to be the highest side. But it slipped when it was in the chuck, so it's now kind of on the other side. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. So let me show you that. So I don't know if y'all can see this. Let me see if I can zoom it. But it's not where I originally put it. Just so you guys know. I don't know what's going to happen here, but that's what's going on.
Can you reseat it?
Not now. I've got I mean, I could cut a new tenon, I guess.
Hey, if you drop the ball, you pick it up and keep going. Let's
Yeah, we're
pick
going
up
to
the
see
ball
what
and keep
happens.
going.
We're going to see what happens with this. It's still not in the center, so it's going to be interesting because it's on the wrong side. So we'll see what happens. So the piece is going to be it's going to be more like this one with a short side now because of where it ended up. So like Eddie says, we're going to roll with it. So I can still show all the techniques that I want to show and in the hows and wherefores and so on. Anything else?
No, spin it up, Matt.
All right.
I
So
warned you all about confusing him. I did. I warned you all about confusing him.
You did. It was terrible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my cuts in the air. I'm going to start cutting here. I'm going to line up my cut and start it in the air and cut into the piece. Now I would do this if I was cutting any kind of uneven bark or like a burl or anything like that. I will start the cut in the air. I will try to get it lined up. So I'm doing a shearing cut and I'll start the cut in the air. And I want to start in the middle rather than up on the edge because I want to try and I want to see where my piece is going to end up, where the bark is going to end up, so that I know how far to take it one way or the other. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to start cutting. I'm going to start cutting in the air in the middle, and I'm going to take light cuts because I've got an uneven piece here. And feel free to ask questions at any time.
What kind of speed are you running?
I'm over 1,000. Things are starting to shake. We'll see.
Oh, yeah.
So, and let me show you what this looks like on the piece of wood. So I've got some parts of it that are cut into the bark, but some pieces that aren't yet. And this is why I start in the middle, okay, so that I can make sure that I've got the bark everywhere I want it. And you can tell where it's going to be low. It's going to be low here. So I'm concerned because I want bark all the way around. So I might take this a little lower yet, and we'll see. Okay, I'm all the way through now. I can tell because I'm no longer bumping on the cuts, if you will. It goes smooth right about there. So this will tell me where I am. Okay, so I'm all the way through there. So that's my low side. So now I've got to be worried also about my high side. So I can take it up here, but I don't want to go any higher than that and save that. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'm scribing an arc like this. It's a circle. I'm basically using my left hand on the tool rest as a fulcrum and doing the turner's dance so that when I'm down here, I can now do an OG into the bottom if I want to. This is where I am so far. So that, I don't want to go any higher than that. So I've got some mold in there, which came pretty quick because this is only down a couple of weeks. So I'm probably going to lose that bark, but I can fix that. Okay, so now I want to finalize my bowl shape as much as I can because I've established my parameter here and my parameter here. Okay, is that clear to everybody what I'm talking about that?
I got
Yes,
you.
many.
Okay, any questions, please ask at any point. So again, I'm taking a light cut with the tip of the tool in a shearing cut. So, and I don't know if I'm going to get creative on the bottom here. Now, this next cut is a pull cut, and it is also a shear. And I want to get this up on an angle and cut it with the side of the flute because I'm trying to clear up. So, and some of this stuff will have to be fixed with sanding after the fact. I'm getting some tear out here. Let me see if I can clean it up going the other direction. All right, I think I'm pretty happy with that for now. I can get the rest of it later. That's a good smooth surface.
Can you get that bottom out of the way so it's not messing with your cut?
No, I don't want to get it out of the way yet. I want to keep it as solid. If I got to hollow the inside yet,
I see.
I want to keep as much meat as I can here. And I don't know what I'm doing with this yet. I haven't decided. So. Take one more pass here downhill. Two more passes. Trying to clean up a little bit of tear out I got here, which may or may not be possible. So that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Questions or concerns at this point?
Nothing noted.
All right. Anything in the chat? I can't see it.
No, there's nothing in chat so far.
All right.
I'll
So
call it out when ready.
yeah, I'm going to get this. Well, and you know what? I'm going to leave. No, I'll take it out now. Okay. So let me switch to this camera. Raise it up a little, maybe. Let me get my Turner's elbow device out of the way. All right.
Matt, am I correct in that the tenon is also off center?
Well, the tenon is, it was originally turned, and it drives the asymmetry, the non-symmetrical nature of it, if that makes sense. So the whole piece is off center because of where we put the tenon.
All right, now, is it the same off center as the top and bottom?
No. The tenon is on center, but it's tilted. Okay, it's on center, but it's tilted so that I get the edge where I want it. Does that make sense?
All right, yep, I got it.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So especially whenever you're turning anything that's uneven or offset, make very sure that you've got you spin it to make this not hitting the tool rest. Okay, so there's a couple of cuts you can do on pieces like this, and one of the things I'm going to start with a push cut going into the center. I'm going to start in the center and push cut into the center, but I'm going to vary back and forth to clean things out and make room. I am also going to drop my tool handle, which raises my inside flute of this tool here at the very end to take a light cut to clean things up on the edge. A light shearing scrape, if you will. All right. So these tools will drill, so I can do a pull cut like that. Which very quickly will hollow out the space. And I can do a push cut into the center, but this is a little, because you don't have a bevel to ride on, this is a little less easy. This cut is actually cleaner. A pull cut. But at some point I'm gonna have to do a push cut in to clean things up. Something's rattling here. Might be my machine oil. Problem with having a very useful container nearby is that you tend to fill it up with all sorts of things.
Sure.
One of Murphy's laws, I think. So it was one of those things I just took out.
And you know he's not going to get a catch because he got that Worldwide Woodturners decal right there on his lathe.
I'm thinking that increases the possibility of a catch. I don't know.
Don't mess with us, bud.
So it's your fault, Eddie, that my lighthouse fell apart. I got a catch because I ain't got my stickers yet.
That was a wood problem, Brenda.
No,
Thank you,
Eddie
Matt.
just.
I've been there with walnut, man. That's that stuff will come apart. You get those cracks in it.
I don't like turning it because you don't know when it's going to smile back at you.
Well, Brenda was turning end grain too, which is entertaining. Now, one of the things that I'm watching here is when I start going with the inside of the bowls, I'm going to be watching the shadow of the outside of the bowl as my guide. So there's the push cut to the center. Now, one of the things with this, because this is end grain, so in addition to all the other handicaps we got going on, we got end grain. The center of these pieces, the pith, is kind of chewed up. And I don't know if you can see that, but it's hard and it's chewed up a bit in the center. So just pay attention to the wood when you're doing these.
Was that box elder, man?
Yeah, this is box elder.
Okay.
Now, my problem with doing this in a demo is that I want to rush it. I want to get
Take
to
your
where,
time.
yeah.
You got plenty of time. You're not rushed.
Okay. So when you get on the edge, because you're dealing with an uneven edge, you've got to take really light cuts, and speed becomes your friend. And you can't push very hard. You can't push too hard at all. God, that really hurts. So again, I'm starting in the air in a shearing configuration. Okay, I get my tool rotated, so I'm getting a shear on the tip. So let's show that where I am right now on it. So I'm not quite out here at the edge yet. This is still the top of the piece of wood. So, and I've got some interesting sort of bark things here. And I'll show you one of my favorite shop tools for this fuzzy bark. Pair of scissors.
I have a green pair just like that.
Yes, right, there you go. Shop
You can coat
scissors, I
'em
buy
in-
the cheapest ones I can find, man.
You can coat them in CA and they make an interesting feature.
Yeah, well, yeah, yes, absolutely. So, and again, I'm watching the outside shadow, trying to gauge where I am. And not lose all my bark. I do, frankly, I do expect to lose most of the bark, but I expect to be able to keep the natural edge, which I can then augment with a torch. So let's have a look. I can show you. So I'm almost there. Got a ways to go yet. Any questions about this so far?
None.
And I'm looking at shadows here. So, and then the cleaning cut is up here like this. Let's have a look. Okay, I want to go, I'll try to go a little thinner. Famous last words, right?
Right.
Stand by.
So you can see how steeply I've got the tool tilted. I am getting a cut here, but it's a sheer cut. I just lost bark. Just lost more bark.
That's a sweet cut.
It really is. So you can push until you're right near the edge, more bark. So, and this is a very, very light cut through here. And all I'm doing is just sort of cleaning up the edge when I do it. And you sort of, you're working with a feel there and you can see all the bark I've lost. But that's a pretty decent end there. I don't know if y'all can see it, but I'm not unpleased with that. Okay. So that as I move out with the cut out to the side here, I decrease the pressure. It gets lighter, and I can hog up at this point, but as soon as I get near the edge, I've got to go light. Okay. Now this is awful thick here, so I'm going to try and go closer in here and thin this down. So let me see if I can do it with pushing in. All right, let's see how we did there with the thinness attempt. That's decent, although it's a little thick here still. I don't know if y'all can see that. Let me switch to this one and show you. So this is what I'm looking at. It's, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch here, or 5/8, but it's thicker here. So I don't know if I'll be able to get a consistent thing, and I got all this fuzzy stuff sitting around. So, and that it's interfering with my cuts. So I'll use this tool again. Interesting, huh? Okay, so I've got to make that thinner up in here, get that thinner. Okay, this is going to be interesting because I'm a little thin on the edge. So we'll see if I can get it done. Without blowing it up. It's pretty thin. I better be careful. I can see in the shadow how thin it is. So I'm less than 1/4 of an inch thin here in this part of the wood. So I best be a lot more careful than I'm being here with that. Questions, comments?
Just a little off the top.
All right, let's switch back to this camera here. So, all right, I need to clean. I don't know if y'all can see this, but I've got some fuzzies here that I need to clean up. So I'm going to come back with that cut again. This way. That's probably pretty good. I see a little bit of a tool mark here. All right. And then from that point, it's just, basic bowl stuff, get her done. It's very rough in the center here due to the pith. One of the things you also have to be careful of and watch for is you got to watch these spinning edges, because they're there. And if you catch them with your hand, you'll pay for it. So I'm pretty happy with that. Well, this probably sand that out. All right. I'm doing something I shouldn't do. Which is be way out on a thin wall of a bowl. And it worked. I'll take it. Okay, this is a little craft torch, a butane torch. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to scorch the edges of this. Switch to this overhead.
Hey, Matt.
So, Sue, yeah, my fire extinguisher is right here.
Hey, Matt.
Yes, ma'am.
Heather says she just sat down for break. So can you start the demo over again?
Yeah, I got one more piece of wood.
I'd be worried about even all that fine sawdust on the lathe bed and stuff. I would be worried about that fire extinguisher or not.
It's soaking wet. It's really wet. So I hear you, Scott, but it's wet. So that's why I'm not worried about it.
All right.
And it's sticking to everything. So this is just water. Making sure it's out. So, and just for you, Scott. Okay.
And just, fire in the shop around the lathe is a dangerous thing. You got to really keep an eye on it, be safe as much as you can. So.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, especially if you're using fire in any way. All right, so I'm going to put a small foot on the bottom of this and take it off now. Any questions on this so far?
No.
All right.
I like it.
Yeah, so you can see that I've got one end. Let me back this one up a little bit here. If I can. Let's try this. Nope, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. Okay, so you can see this, that I've got one side is longer and higher than the other. Okay, so I've accomplished my goal here, and I was correct in that the one side is going to be a lot lower than the other side. Okay,
That's got a good look.
yeah, it's very interesting. It's got a very good look to it. So let me get this right here, so I can get in here.
You make it look so easy to do.
Yeah, well, and one of the keys to turning anything like this, where you're dealing with natural edges or uneven wood, is that you want to be able to, the faster you can go, the better you are, and take light cuts. So, let the tool, don't let the wood control what you're doing. Let the tool make it work, if you know what I mean. So, and I've got enough here that I could probably do a little pedestal, but in the interest of time and energy and not putting anybody to sleep, I'm just gonna take it off.
Oh, you're not going to make a pedestal?
You want me to make a pedestal?
Yes.
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 Okay. As you request.
You really shouldn't have asked for a vote there, man.
A little bit of effort.
Well, I don't mind. You guys,
That's the easy part.
I'm not
That's the
watching
easy
the
part.
time, so.
You got plenty of time.
Okay.
Oh, we don't worry about that. We don't worry about that. We worry about the demonstration. So.
All right. So what I'm going to do
nice
is
that
I'm going
slicing.
to make sure that I've got enough room on the bottom of this piece to part it off. Okay. So that's going to be the bottom of my piece. Let me check to make sure I'm all the way through on the pedestal, because I don't think I am, and I'm not. Okay. Go a little thinner on this. So. All right. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to sort of round this off a little bit. And then I'm gonna make that curve work really well and blend. Oh, watch your fingers, Matt. Okay. Detail gouge. Let's put in a little bead here. And let's make the pedestal come up to it. And let's get out the old picture hanging wire on handles, burning device.
One brief little move made a major change.
Yep. Added a feature.
Yes.
So I got to clean that up because I've got a little bit of tear out on that little bead, which I can see. I probably could have done that with sanding. That's all right. So, and I like to round these things off. I don't particularly care for really square ones. And I like to bevel things, so I'm going to undercut this a little bit this way.
Makes them appear like they're floating on a table rather than sucking down to it.
Yep, and I want this to be a little concave, so I'm going to concave it with the edge of my tool there, using it as a scraper. And then I will take my handy dandy Benjamin Best parting tool with the super secret grind on it, which y'all have seen 100 times, and undercut this.
Secret.
Secret is 15 degrees.
Now everybody knows.
So one of the things I like to do with the parting tool is I will use the side of my parting tool as a sort of a scraper to round off corners like that. So it's already at an angle. So I'm actually getting a slight shearing angle as I do that. So I get a fairly clean scrape. And because of the slight tilt to my little parting tool here, I can undercut this pretty easily. And we're going to go and cut the rest of it off with the handsaw.
Yeah, I thought I saw it walking around a little bit.
Yeah, it started to bend. Yep. So there's the piece.
Ooh. See what those two little burn rings did?
Beautiful.
Good job, Matt.
A little bit of modification. You can turn something like that into a gravy bowl.
Yeah, there you go.
Very
That's-
nice.
I like it.
Okay, so the little parting tool, it's just a simple Benjamin Best parting tool, but there's a slight angle on the end of it here. And I don't know if y'all can see that, but that angle is 15 degrees. I tried a couple different ones, and the one I like the best is 15 degrees. And the tool itself was $15 new, so I figured that I could shred it to my heart's content and I wouldn't be too bothered about it. So this is how I use the torch to simulate having bark on a piece that loses the bark. Questions on this at all?
Would you sand and finish that on the lathe, or do you let it dry and warp, or what do you do?
I will sand much of it on the lathe. I will sand the interior on the lathe. I will sand the edges on the lathe, trying very hard to not roll over the corners, either this way or this way, okay? I want these corners crisp. I want the bark to look, crisp, okay? And then, yeah, I will sand as much as I can on the lathe, and then I will sand off the lathe. I have some sanding mandrels and cylindrical tools that I use. For instance, this is one of the cylinders. This it's got a metal core, a foam around the outside, and you just buy cloth back sandpaper and you wrap it around and lock it inside. And this goes in my Fordham, and they make them with 1/8 inch shafts. I have some for the Dremel too. So I use these, and I also have soft. The normal mandrel, normal sanding mandrel I use has got like a hard foam. This is pretty hard. Okay, you see it doesn't hardly flex at all. The soft foam flexes a lot. Okay, and both of these you can buy from Klingspor's website. I make some of my own. For instance, this one's made from a engine valve. Okay, but the soft one will allow it to follow contours a lot better. So this off one, I can sand up in here, power sand up in here, and control intimately where the sanding's being done, if you follow what I mean. Because of the way the contours of this, follow the surface.
So it would be sanding, not shaping.
Well, there's shaping and then there's sanding. I mean, some of this, like, I don't know if y'all can see this real well, but there's some fuzzies in here that would need to be probably cleaned up a little bit. And there's a tool mark in here that needs to be cleaned up. But it's not that deep, and it's something I can clean up pretty quickly with 100 grit or 150 grit. So, I mean, typically I would do that on the lathe. You're right, Jim. That's where I would do it.
You let it dry. You let it dry then, and then finish it, or
yeah. This because of. I mean, y'all can't see this. Let me switch to. I don't know what'll show the right view here. Maybe this. Nope, it's not going to show it. All right, let me try something else. Let me go with this camera and pull it off of here. Maybe. It's locked. There we go. Okay. I don't know if y'all can see that. Nope, you can't. It's thin. I can see through this. Let me see if I can. There you go.
Yeah.
So
read the paper through it.
Yeah, when I was saying I was seeing that it was thin on the lathe, that's what I was seeing. I was seeing how thin it was. So let me switch that. Stop. Sorry for the vertigo, folks.
Oh, it's all good. Like a roller coaster
Yeah.
without the waiting in line.
I know which way it goes in here. There we go. Okay.
What will you use to hold a piece on the lathe when you start sanding?
Well, I would sand it while it was still on the lathe. Okay. Still, I'd sand as much as I could still on the lathe. So I can sand the interior, I can sand the bottom of the interior, and I can sand these outer edges if I'm really careful and make sure that the sandpaper isn't rolling over the edges. Do you understand what I mean by that?
Yes.
Okay. So let me switch back to overhead. Maybe. So on this piece here, I'm sanding like this as it's coming around, or as it's coming around, I'm sanding like this. So the sandpaper is not rolling over the edges; it's keeping the edges crisp. Okay, and the same on this side, if that makes sense. Okay, and then I mean clearly this I could sand with hand sand it on the without using a mandrel on the lathe. But then once it's off the lathe, then I sit at the bench behind me here and sand there with the mandrels and with the cylinders. So with the cylinder, I can go like this sort of motion here, and I can really shape a contour. I don't do a lot of shaping off the lathe. I mean, ideally, you want to do as much shaping as possible on the lathe, and with 100 grit on the lathe. You don't want. I don't want to spend spend hours shaping, right, with sandpaper. But the beauties of these is that it'll let you follow a contour at will. So I can angle this correctly so that I'm following the contour and a little bit of pressure, and I'll get a really good sand. This is 400 grit, by the way. So, I could clean this up, and it's box elder. It's fairly soft, so it'll sand up pretty easily. So,
Right. Yeah, folks. Normally, like other pieces that you do, all the sanding is done while it's still attached to the lathe.
Yep.
You don't dissect it from the lathe and then put it in your lap and commence the sanding.
Matt, do you have a link to those sanding tubes or cylinders?
I will find. I've got one or two that are still in the bags. I will find them and set them up and I'll send you, Bob. I'll send them to you, Bob.
Okay.
I'll send them to the website. So, or maybe I'll find it here. After I sign off of, I've got some sitting around here. Yeah, but there's a couple places to find them. I don't think that Klingspor sells them, but I don't know. I'll have to find out where I got them from. So when I first bought them, there was only one guy making them. He was making them in his basement, but now people are making them commercially. So
Actually, Matt, Harbor Freight has them in a set of about 6 or 7 of them, and I love them.
well, what they have is these other ones here that are on sleeves.
Oh, that's the one I was talking about. Yeah, with the tube in it. But let's see.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's got
Is
a
that the
tube.
one with the metal sleeve in it?
Yeah, it's got
change the paper on.
yes, and you have to buy the sleeves, which is not that big a deal.
No, they have the one like you had before with the oblong metal piece that goes in and you fold the paper in it and then trip and fold it over them. They have them in sets with about 6 or 8 of them in sets going up to like 2 inches.
Well, I'll have to go look then. That sounds great.
Really nice.
That sounds great. Yeah, I mean, I love these because, you can choose whatever sandpaper you want to put on them. And I got several of these the same size, and I've got one with 400, one with 320 on it, one with 220 on it. So
right, I buy all the sandpaper from Klingspor, and you can make anything you want with them. They're really nice.
Yeah,
but they do they're like $20 for 5 or 6 of them in a kit.
Okay, well, I'll have to look that up because that sounds like a really good deal. Because I think that I was paying like $15 for a single one. So.
Okay, members, that's what our chat is about. If you got an item like that and you have an item number from Harbor Freight, you can put it in our chat, folks, and then we can look it up because you can order Harbor online. Or when you get there, you can give them the item number and they'll look it up for you because they do have a pretty good inventory system.
Yep, I even have small ones that I use on my microcarver and my Dremel. So they've got them a bunch of different sizes, and you just cut the sand, whatever grit sandpaper you want to fit them, and go from there.
Yeah, I don't think that kit comes in real small ones. Harbor Freight's real close to me this week. I'll take a picture of it and show you next week.
Sounds great. Very cool.
I've got that set you were talking about, Matt, from somebody that made them out of their basement like years and years ago.
Yeah, I wish I could remember his name. It was Keith somebody.
I do too. They're bulletproof. I mean,
I've been using these for years.
Yeah, when they had to clean out the shop, it was in the scrapings off the floor, and I was picking stuff up, and the guy said, "Oh, that's all junk." No, you don't understand. It's not junk.
All right, I got something to show you guys here. I found.
What you got? What you got?
All right, here, let me switch to this camera here. So this is one of them that's. All right, he says, it looks like Foul Play Studios, and Foul Play is spelled FOWL space PLAY Studios. Okay, so this one here is clearly a quarter inch shank. So this is one I'd use on my Fordham. But there's and this is what, this is one of those with the key inside and you lock it in there.
So Foul Play makes me believe it's from a duck carvers group.
Right, exactly. It's somebody who's making, oh, there we go. Right, there you go. Greg Dorrance Company, gregdorrance.com.
I'm bringing it down a little bit. Screen capture, folks. Now.
Somebody making duck decoys.
All right, so there you go. There's one source.
Right on. Outstanding, Matt. Thank you very much.